So we're at Revelation chapter 2 verse 18. We know, don't we, the church is undergoing serious and unprecedented persecution. A power-hungry man called Domitian has become emperor of the Roman Empire, and for the next 15 years this man leads a cruel and cold-blooded attack on the struggling Christian church. He demanded that people treat him as divine, calling him Lord and God, and those who refuse to do so risk losing their jobs, their homes, their very lives. And he was a figure of terror, and to any observer of the day, it would have looked like the church was on the edge of extinction. And it was in this period that John, the apostle, by now an old man, is exiled to Patmos, an island, and receives visions that make up the book of Revelation. And what these visions do is help us to see history from the perspective of heaven. It might look like the church is about to be annihilated and forgotten about, but actually the opposite is true. So that's the background. The chapters 2 and 3 is where John is addressing church communities that are located near the island of Patmos. First of all, it's really interesting that John addresses the angels of these church communities. That makes me think, wow, does that mean that there's an angel assigned to every church community around the world? That's pretty cool. So what about the first place, Thyatira? Well, it was a centre of trade and commerce and was dominated by trade guilds. So there were guilds for wool and bronze and pottery and baking and so on. And if you wanted to carry out business in the town, you had to belong to a guild. But that was seriously problematic if you were a follower of Jesus, because belonging to a guild meant you had to attend meals that were in the pagan temple, where proper dodgy things were going on involving prostitutes and getting completely hammered and all kinds of other things that didn't fit with who you were as a child of God. Perhaps not dissimilar to when Christian young people turn up at uni, faced with the pressures to go along with everything, particularly if you want to be part of a sports team and there's the initiation ceremonies. What do? Well, I knew of one Christian rugby lad who refused to down a yard 2.5 pints of alcohol, but said that he would down 2.5 pints of milk instead, knowing full well he would throw up at the end of it. But he did it and found a way of joining the rugby team without compromising his integrity. So John commends their perseverance under pressure. He says their allegiance to Christ is costing them, and God knows. But however, whilst being strong in some areas, they're being weak in other areas. They're being overly tolerant of someone who carried much influence and was teaching some dodgy things about the body, saying you're free to do with your body whatever you want because it doesn't really matter. But we know it does matter what we do with our bodies, because our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit and we can grieve the Holy Spirit. Perhaps today in our culture, the joining of acceptance with affirmation has become the new definition of acceptance. We just kind of affirm everybody's choices and lifestyle, and nobody warns anyone else anymore their choices might be unwise or damaging to themselves. We need churches that are full of high grace but high truth, where we accept people but we call people to live lives worthy of their calling. So then we look at the city of Sardis, chapter 3, verses 1 to 6. It was located on a mountaintop, appeared to be strong. However, the people were sleepy and complacent, and so actually the city had been invaded and defeated twice. And it looks as though the church too is sleepy and complacent. It looks impressive on the outside, but it's weak and its roots are shallow. So God says to them, strengthen what remains. It's like, it's not too late for them, but it's a call to action, to wake up. And it's always worth, I think, asking God every so often, where am I getting sleepy, complacent? Where do I need to wake up and strengthen my faith again?